Hi, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, there was an article that came out this morning on CNN. We're going to talk about some of what's in it because what's in it really matters and has an effect on, or it should have an effect on, what we are getting with our Young Living orders, okay? And what we're doing with our overall health. So you can see the title here, Toxic Chemical Hall of Shame, calls out major retailers for failing to act. Now, here's the thing. They come out, this particular group comes out with a dirty dozen list for fruits and vegetables like every year. It's like the top 10 most toxic fruits and vegetables that you can get in the stores. And what they do is they go through and they test the pesticide levels and residue that remains and herbicide levels that remains on the foods we eat. And then they also, this is the environmental working group, by the way. They used to have a really good app, but that was sold to another group. So it's not as reliable anymore. But what they do is they go through and they test all the foods. They also, though, look at which companies that sell these fruits and vegetables and sell these foods are working to try to reduce the toxic chemicals in their products. And they also then look at the toxic chemicals in things like your shampoos, your body washes, your soaps, whatever. And so we're going to look at some of these. So strawberries is number one. 30% had residues of 10 or more pesticides. 90% of the strawberries that they tested had at least one pesticide. We're going to go down the list really quick. Spinach, here's another one. Kale, nectarines, and I will post the link to this with the recording of this. Apples are a big one. Grapes, cherries, those are about to come into season in our area. Let's see. Oh, it gave us an ad. Sorry, hang on a minute. Peaches, right? Pears, sweet bell peppers. Now, I want you to think about which ones of these products that you use on the regular, right? That you might pick up pretty regularly. I know apples in our house is a really big one because they're easy to grab and go for my kids. Celery, we do a lot of. Tomatoes, my kids eat a ton of tomatoes, you guys, tons. Oranges, so just because it has a peel doesn't necessarily mean it's necessarily safe. So they targeted citrus fruits separately. There was a fungicide that was linked to cancer and hormone disruption, and nearly 90% of the oranges, mandarins, grapefruit, and lemons that they tested. Okay, and that was an independent laboratory test. Okay, so you can see these. A dozen major companies earned an F for failing to publicly address the growing problem of toxic chemicals that might be in the products they sell to consumers. Okay, so, and they actually give the companies time to respond before they publish the results. All right, they actually reach out to them and say, hey, here's what we found. Do you have anything coming up that is going to change this? Is it going to help? Whatever. You can see right here, includes Starbucks, Subway, Publix, grocery store, Nordstrom's. Bet you didn't know they sell food, but they do. They also were looked at, though, for their makeups and things like that. Ace Hardware, 7-Eleven, Sally Beauty and Restaurant Brands International, which also owns Burger King, Popeyes, Tim Hortons. So if you're in Canada, you are not exempt. 99-cent stores, Sobeys and Metro, which are also in Canada. Circle K, Couche-Tard convenience stores. And they even say it's not hard to get out of an F. You just got to get more than 15 points. So this isn't, I'm not going to read the whole article to you out loud. I'm assuming that you are educated enough to read, that you can read it for yourself. All right. There are some companies who didn't get one single point, not one single point for trying to get around this. Okay. So, and here are some of the things that they looked at. All right. We're going to look right here. They looked at the practices of 50 retail chains with more than 200,000 stores in the United States. They included questions about whether the company had publicly committed to a safer chemical policy, required suppliers to document their use of chemicals, they kept suppliers accountable, had reduced or, now your suppliers, when we talk about suppliers, that means who's sending the products to those stores. okay, which is where it really matters with Young Living, because that's one of the places that we really excel. If you've looked at Young Living's history at all and Young Living's practices, that's one area we really succeed at. They looked at whether or not a company kept suppliers accountable, had reduced or eliminated chemicals or plastics of environmental and health concern within the last 3 years. And here's why it matters, you guys. Phthalates are in hundreds of auto, home, food, personal care items, and they've been linked to long-lasting neurodevelopmental harm in fetuses, infants, children. They're called forever chemicals because they do not degrade in the environment. They're so widespread. I want you to see this sentence right here. They are so widespread that levels have been detected in the blood of 97% of all Americans, according to a 2015 report by the CDC. Which means that just because the CDC has said it's okay for us to use them, it doesn't mean necessarily that it is. It means that sometimes we're playing with fire that we don't know what the long-term results are going to be. But research in the last 10 years shows that they are associated with liver damage, immune disorders, cancer, and endocrine disruption, which we've talked about on here before. Endocrine disruptors include the pesticides, DDT, dioxin, plastic additives, which we talked about last week, in fact, BPAs, bisphenol A, phthalates. So all of these things come into play, okay? And then they talk about some companies that have improved, Target and Walmart among them, McDonald's, all right? All right, so one of the things that stands out here for me, right? We talked about the sourcing of products. So if you think about Young Living, one of the things Young Living is known for is where their sourcing is and how strict they are in their standards. So maybe you know this, maybe you don't. If you don't know, I'm going to let you know. The farms that Young Living partners with and the farms that Young Living owns, we are the only essential oil company that owns our own farms. And we have very close partnerships with the farms we do not own. Those farms are all held to a very strict standard. They are not allowed to use pesticides. They're not allowed to use herbicides, which would kill weeds. They hand weed, you guys. Hand weed. Okay, do you know what that costs? Do you know the amount of manpower involved there? They use companion planting. For fertilizer, they take the used material from the that was spent after the distillation. They put it into a great big mulch pile and they put it back on the plants. Okay, so even fertilizer can be a problem, and Young Living is aware of that, and they are very, very strict about how they handle it. Okay, because what is on our raw material will end up in your essential oils, it will end up in our other products, and it will end up in you. Okay, so Young Living watches that really closely. So one of the things I want to do next is to look at a couple of products that Young Living offers us that will allow you to work more towards avoiding some of these toxins and these chemicals, because the more that you can't completely, we're going to be real here, we're going to be honest, you cannot completely eliminate all the toxic chemicals that we are surrounded by on a day-to-day basis. There's just too many. There's too many, and there's too many that we're not even aware are being used yet because the companies are not always required to disclose them. There are too many that we think are safe that aren't. I mean, for a long time, you guys, BPAs wasn't even, I mean, nobody knew what that meant. And they were used in baby bottles, right? So now you see a lot of, especially in kids stuff, you see kids cups and whatever, and you'll see BPA free on the packaging, right? Because now they want to make sure that you know what they're doing to take precautions for your kids, right? Because they really care about your health and your safety. I hope you're laughing at that. To show you some products that will really help you out. First of all, with your food, it will really help you to go organic whenever possible. I know that that's difficult because organic is much more expensive. It's expensive because you're using fewer chemicals, so you're able to grow fewer product, less product. You're able to make less product, right? But the other thing is that, so it costs more to grow, right? And the other thing, though, is that sometimes it's not always possible to get the organic stuff in your area or whatever. So what Young Living provides for us is the Thieves Fruit and Veggie Soak. Okay. They have it as a spray for on the go. So like if you're out and you're grabbing and going an apple for lunch, you can spray it with it and wipe it down. Okay. With the Thieves Fruit and Veggie Spray. It comes in a little 2-ounce purse size thing, which you see at the bottom. Otherwise, you can soak it with a little cap, 1 capful of the veggie spray into a sink full of water, and you let your veggies just kind of sit in there for a little while. Okay, so here we go. She's going to show us. She's putting it just in plain water, and then she's putting in the Thieves Fruit and Veggie Soak. Okay. And thanks very much to Oily Mom here for letting us use her video. Oh my gosh, how long are you going to wash those veggies? You should wash them for like 10 minutes. Like you let them just sit and soak for like 10 minutes while you're getting other stuff together, heating up your water in your pot, whatever. And that's going to be a really good way to do that. So she's going to show us the washed version first. There we go. So you can kind of see the difference between the two broccolis. See how much cleaner one looks than the other, how much darker it is in color. Okay, but even outside of that, there are others out there, you guys, that show pictures of the wash water and how much is still in it. So you really want to wash all of your fruits and vegetables before you use them. Super, super important. Even if you get the organic, and the reason you want to, even if you get the organic, is because the organic they're allowed to use a certain amount of pesticides and herbicides as per the legal regulations and the CDC and all of that. If they cannot get a certain amount to grow in their crops without using those pesticides and herbicides, they are allowed to use those. I bet you didn't know that. A lot of us don't. I certainly didn't. Okay, and I mentioned other products too. So as you read through that article, you're going to see where they talk about makeup and all of the chemicals that are in our makeup and how they tested some of those. Guys, if you haven't thought about your makeup before, you need to. You need to. There is tons of stuff in makeup that you don't want on your skin and on your face. All right. Let me see if I can find that in this article here. It looked at food. Okay, so we're back at the article. They looked at food packaging in the last couple of years. They looked at consumer products, especially marketed toward Black women, which they really hadn't done before, but they talked about, the endocrine disrupting chemicals and hair relaxers and other products, skin lightening creams, danger of mercury. And those are actually on the increase in Asian countries as well, the skin lighteners. So, and the reason that they highlighted women of color is because, as they say, they typically use more beauty products than other races, according to the EWG. Okay. So Target and Rite Aid are looking for those toxic chemicals that are in the beauty product industry. So one example, formaldehyde is released into the air when some hair solutions are applied and then processed with heat. How many of you get permed, get your hair permed? Okay, so no, we don't have perm solutions for in Young Living, but we have a whole ton, you guys, of Savvy Mineral makeup. Go look it up. It's amazing. And we have tons of colors for all different skin shades. We have them. And I love the palettes. Eyeshadow palette. Here we go. So we have natural quartz. You have the different colors there. Royal Winter, Sahara Sunset, right? Jet Setter eyeliner. Okay, powdered eyeliner. Okay, so that's your makeup, all right? But also, seriously, again, they didn't mention it in the article, but you need to be thinking about it. All your personal care stuff, your lotions, your moisturizer, your hair care, your dental care, your shampoos, your lotions, your soaps, all of those things should be part of what you consider when you're going about the store and you're trying to figure out, what to use for your family. All right. And it really matters. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is the EWG website. Here's the retail report that they mention in the article. Who's minding the store? Okay, that's what it's called. It gives you reports. So if you want to look at it, you can really dive in, see who got what grades. You can look up your favorite retailers and what grades they got. So I don't know if you see any of your favorite ones here, but here's just a quick scroll down. Aldi is where I do most of my shopping. They got a B-. I see that, so I'll be diving into that myself later. Okay, Kroger's another one. Kroger got a C-. Okay, so that's something to look at. And then the other thing is ewg.org. You can look there too, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do, and keep this one on your phone to look up, because you can look up different individual products on the EWG website and see if they're safe or not, or see what kinds of things might be in that product that you don't want to deal with on your skin, and that might contribute to your long-term health. They have a healthy living app. You could see that was on their thing just now. So these are all some things to think about. I hope that today has been a little bit informative for you and gives you some ways to dive in as you're going forward, because you really, really need to. If you look around, we are seeing a huge increase in the number of people who are sick, who have inflammation problems, who have problems staying healthy in general, and they don't know why. You need to be looking. You need to watch, because the answers are here. We just have to consider what we're doing with them. All right, I'm going to let you guys go for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm totally losing my words. What is the word for what you put on something to make it grow more? I'm asking you, not mulch. Jeffrey, what is the word for something that you put on plants to make it grow better? Thank you. I could not think of that one.